Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the new AI Cold War, a rapidly escalating rivalry between the US and China that's being fought on three critical fronts: software, hardware, and now the physical world.
And it all kicks off with this. Something just happened that totally changes the game in the world of cyber operations, and it's all being driven by a powerful new kind of artificial intelligence.
Okay, so let's get right into it with a real-world event that shows you exactly what's going on. And this isn't some sci-fi theory about the future. This is happening right now.
So, back in late 2025, a cybersecurity firm called Anthropic stumbled onto something huge, a massive espionage campaign where an AI system was doing almost all the work by itself. We're talking 80 to 90% of the actual hands-on keyboard operations were being done by a machine.
And look, this wasn't just AI helping out a human. This was what they're calling agentic AI. It was the one in the driver's seat. The AI went from being a simple chatbot to being an active operator that could think its way through problems and take control of complex computer systems. And the kicker? The whole campaign was linked back to a Chinese state-sponsored group.
So how did this attack, which they codenamed GTG-1002, actually work? Well, the AI agent did all the grunt work. It mapped out networks at insane speeds, created its own custom exploits, and snuck its way through different systems. The human operators? They only jumped in to make the big strategic calls, like giving the final go to steal the data. I mean, it's a massive force multiplier. Suddenly, one person can do the work of an entire team of 10.
So what you're seeing here is a huge shift in philosophy, a whole new way of thinking. It's all about speed and scale. Just hack everything you possibly can. That's a world away from the traditional Western approach, that kind of slowly catchy monkey method, where you're super careful and precise. For actors like China, if the AI makes a few mistakes here and there, well, that's just the cost of doing business when you're operating at this incredible volume.
But here's the really crucial point. All of this incredible new software threat, it's all built on a physical foundation, those advanced semiconductor chips that power all AI. And this is where the second front in this rivalry really opens up.
Okay, so if you look at the raw power of these chips right now, what experts call total processing performance, the best US chips from a company like Nvidia are already about 5 times more powerful than what China can produce with Huawei. That gap right there is the foundation of the US advantage.
And this is where it gets really crazy. That gap isn't just big, it's about to get a whole lot bigger. I mean, you don't even have to guess. Just look at the public roadmaps from these companies. The forecast is absolutely stunning. By 2027, that 5 times performance gap is expected to blow up to a staggering 17 times.
And it's not just about which chip is better, it's about how many you can make. Even if we're super generous with the estimates, by 2027, Huawei is on track to produce only about 2% of Nvidia's total AI computing power. It's not even close. China just can't make enough of these high-end chips to keep up.
So why is this happening? Why is the gap so massive? Well, it really comes down to one thing: US and allied export controls. These rules are basically stopping China from getting its hands on the most advanced chip-making machines in the world. It puts a hard ceiling on how good their domestic chips can get.
And there's this one analysis from the Council on Foreign Relations that just puts it so bluntly. They said, Huawei is not a threat that justifies loosening controls. It is evidence that the controls are working. In other words, China's struggles aren't a sign the policy is failing, it's proof that it's actually succeeding.
Okay, so we've got software, we've got hardware. But what's really wild is how this whole competition is about to jump out of the digital world and into the physical one. And that brings us to the third front: robotics.
You see, both the US and China are now in a flat-out race to build what's called embodied AI. And we're talking humanoid robots. They see these things as the next huge technological platform, kind of like the smartphone was a decade ago. And whoever wins this race could dominate everything from manufacturing to elder care, even the military. China's government has made this a top national priority, setting up a direct showdown with American companies like Tesla.
And make no mistake, when it comes to robotics, China already has a huge head start. Right now, they account for more than half of all industrial robots used on the planet. That's a massive manufacturing base that they're absolutely planning to use in this new race for humanoid AI.
So when you put it all together, this three-front war over software, hardware, and now robots, it puts the US government in a really tough spot. They're facing some incredibly complex choices.
Remember that crazy AI-powered cyber attack we talked about at the beginning? Well, that single incident set off alarm bells and led to a US congressional hearing. And they were trying to get their heads around this dual-use problem. The exact same AI technology that an adversary can use to launch an attack is also the exact same tech we need to build our own defenses.
And this creates this huge, high-stakes balancing act for policymakers. On the one hand, you've got these powerful US AI tools that are out there, and adversaries can just pick them up and turn them into weapons. But on the other hand, we need those tools for our own security and our economy. So the big dilemma is, how do you keep that crucial hardware advantage with export controls without accidentally killing the very innovation that gives you that advantage in the first place?
And that leaves us with this one final, really provocative question. We've seen that China is getting super creative with its software attacks, even though it's way behind on hardware. So, as this new Cold War plays out, what's going to matter more in the end? Having the most powerful chips, or having the most ingenious ways to use the chips you've got? That's the question that's going to define the next decade of this race.
Not sure which skills will move you forward? Skill Tree Learning makes it clear. From SAP and Microsoft to data analytics and generative AI,